Introducing first the challenger in the red corner, wearing the gold and red trunks, weighing 149¼ pounds. He hails from St. Thomas in the Virgin Islands with a professional record of 55 victories, 4 defeats, and 49 wins coming by way of knockout. He is ranked #1 in the world by the WBU, and the challenger, Julian the Hawk Jackson. His opponent in the blue corner, wearing the black trunks with red and white trim, weighing in at 152¼ pounds. He hails from Troy, New York, with a professional record of 29 victories, 8 defeats, 1 draw, and 14 wins coming by way of knockout. He is represented by the Dukes of Boxing, the WBU Junior Middleweight Champion of the World, Verno Phillips. 12 rounds for the
champion
WBU
Phillips and
Junior
the former champion Julian Jackson. Let's take a look at the rules as governed by the WBU. No 3 knockdown, no standing 8. Fighter cannot be saved by the bell in any round. Only the referee may stop the bout, and in an accidental foul, the key here is that there is no round of delineation, and I'll talk more about that. Here's Al's keys to victory.
For Phillips, he's got to survive the early onslaught. He's got to remember to work the body to tire Jackson out for later. And for Julian Jackson, man, come out firing. But don't load up on every punch. That'll make him tired later.
Those are Al's keys to victory. As far as that accidental foul rule is concerned, normally after 6 rounds, say, they go to the judges' scorecards. If there's an accidental foul, the injured boxer cannot continue. Prior to that, a technical draw. WBU says if you cannot continue, you lose. So in other words, if Al is beating me for 11 rounds and Al suffers a cut accidentally and he cannot continue, Al loses and I win. And I talked with the referee, Fred Steinwander III, about that at length yesterday at the rules meeting and today as well. And he said, that's what we're doing. Let's take a look at the knockout ratio. Jackson, of course, with 34 of his 49 knockouts in the first 3 rounds. You take a look at the first round knockouts, Al.
Well, the story is simple here. I mean, Julian Jackson, very dangerous early. Verno is not a quick starter. We've seen him down on the canvas in fights early in bouts. So for him, the first couple of rounds, very, very important.
And that one first-round knockout by Phillips came a long, long time ago, 17 bouts ago.
And Verno Phillips is not the kind of guy, while he is a boxer-puncher type, who is going to be real cautious early. And you see him, he's not cautious. So he certainly is a guy who is vulnerable early to Jackson's power.
On October the 31st in Ohio on ESPN, Jackson scored a 3rd-round TKO against Eduardo Gutierrez. Phillips last fought on August the 29th on ESPN's Championship Boxing, an 11th-round knockout of Godfrey Niakana to win the WBU title. Al, you and I, along with the judges, all had Niakana in that bout winning.
We felt he was ahead. I don't think Verno Phillips and his people believed that Verno was behind. Of course, he made that an academic point by knocking Niakana out. And it is a fact. Verno Phillips tends to not win early rounds, although here, Julian Jackson has done so little offensively that I think he's almost kind of giving Verno a pass in the first round. Jackson is a very good right hand, and people talk about it, but his left hook is wicked. That's the punch, I believe, if there's a punch that will hurt Phillips early, it is the left hook of Jackson.
1 minute to go in round 1. Julian Jackson and Verno Phillips.
Phillips doing a very good job of, when he punches, bringing his hands back quickly. Nice overhand right by Phillips. Jackson has, in all his losses, has been knocked out. Twice by Gerald McClellan, once by Quincy Taylor, and once by Mike McCallum. So you can get him out of it. And there's the left hook to the body by Jackson. He will need to double with that punch. Well, Verno Phillips has to be absolutely ecstatic at the way this first round went.
Up to the end of round number 1, Julian Jackson and Verno Phillips on ESPN's Championship Boxing.
It began as a game. It became war. Bud Bowl with legends like Bud Wade Show, Bud Lights.
Got you a mug, sir.
A mug? Gee, how'd you get past security?
Welcome back to Tunica, Mississippi. Bob Papa along with Al Bernstein in the ring, Julian Jackson and Verno Phillips for Phillips WBU Junior Middleweight Championship. Take a look at the numbers in round number 1.
Phillips doing better, and 5 of those punches were jabs. Of Jackson, he landed 4 jabs in that first round, so only 2 power punches landed by Julian Jackson in the first round. One of those was a left hook to the body. That is not the way he imagined this ocean voyage going.
And despite the fact that Jackson is the one with the impressive resume and the one with much more experience, and Verno Phillips maybe does not get the respect that he feels he deserves, people in Las Vegas say that at the time of the fight, Phillips went off as a 6-5 favorite.
There was a lot of betting action on this bout in Las Vegas. It is pretty much a pick-up fight. We chronicled it that way. Now, hey, big news for Verno Phillips. He gets nailed by a huge right hand by Julian Jackson and doesn't blink early in the fight. That's very good news for him and for his people.
Can a guy like Jackson, who's a big puncher, who has paralyzing power and has throughout the course of his career, on a given night, could maybe just not have the zip?
Yeah, that's for sure. And, of course, fighters get old in one night. He is 37 years of age. Now, they've been trying to work Tyrone Boone, his trainer, with Julian on pacing himself a little bit. And that may be what he's doing here. I don't know if ultimately that's the strategy that can win him this fight. Also, sometimes fighters just can't get off. They reach the point where they can't. And we see Julian having some trouble right here. Well, there he goes to the left hook.
Jackson has a 3-inch height advantage and a reach advantage.
One of the mistakes that I think Jackson is making now is that he's not working the body of Verno Phillips as effectively as he might. Because Phillips is not giving him any room to hit him in the head, so you're going to have to work the body.
There's another right that snapped back the head of Phillips, but he does not take a step back.
But I'll go on record right now as saying it won't be the right hand of Jackson that will hurt Phillips. If anything's going to hurt him, because we've already seen him land 2 good right hands, it will be that hook. That's the cruncher of Julian Jackson. And the way to land that fight is going to be throw it to the body first and then to the head.
It's Phillips who fires off one of his own.
Beautiful left hooks by Phillips.
Come to the end of round 2, scheduled for 12, Verno Phillips and Julian Jackson.
Every week, Barron scours the investment world for growth opportunities with comprehensive coverage of stocks, bonds, mutual...
Guys, use your heads. Think.
Rangers and the center is in. Who's not a quick starter? Verno Phillips says, not me. He lands not only that overhand right, but also a beautiful left hook. Part of what he did in round 2 against Julian Jackson, and he comes right out doing it again here in this round.
Take a look at Julian Jackson. 69% of his 49 knockouts have come within the first 3 rounds. He has 11 third-round knockouts. So the key to Jackson is to get his opponents out early.
He has been very tentative so far, Jackson, and part of that due to the fact that Verno Phillips came right out firing on him and put him back on his heels. You see Phillips with the edge in numbers of punches landed and throwing a lot more. Neither man landing at a real big percentage.
37 more punches thrown by Phillips.
Even though Jackson has been a pro for 7 more years than Phillips and has 17 more fights, he has fought about 53 fewer rounds. And that's because those fights go so short for him.
Just over a minute gone by in this 3rd round, scheduled for 12. At stake, Verno Phillips, WBU Junior Middleweight Championship. As he defends his title for the first time.
And you know, in a round like this, the third round, Vernal Phillips doesn't even care, honestly, if he would lose a round like this. If this was a round in which Jackson didn't land anything big and he lost on the judges' scorecard, he doesn't care. He wants to get this fight into the 5th, 6th, 7th round. He's already put 2 rounds in the bag, so Phillips just wants to extend Jackson right now.
Phillips fights out of Troy, New York. He's been there since the age of 3. Actually, both of these guys are from prime vacation spots. Julian Jackson from St. Thomas in the Virgin Islands, and Phillips was born in Belize. Before his mom moved to Troy, New York.
We have been up into the Northeast for several Vernal Phillips bouts, and they have all been exciting. His 2 bouts with Santos Cardona were classics on ESPN in 1995.